presentation since then. I've made loads of money out of that presentation. But it's telling landlords the housing standards, how to license properties, what you require as part of a HMO licence, all of that. That knowledge is wonderful, but I take it now as the joint chair of the Humber Landlord Association. I'm the Piotr of Hull. It's Piotr, isn't it? Yeah. The chairman of a landlord association. There's 4 of us who run the organisation, and it's very handy to have a local landlord association that's quite vociferous, quite strong, and will challenge the council, because in Hull we have a council who don't tend to like businesses. They want to control everything, which is ironic because they couldn't run a bath. We put them in their places. I think Piotr has already told you about my latest victory a few weeks ago. We took them to a tribunal.
No.
Oh, did he not?
No.
Oh, sorry, I heard the words.
Yeah,
6-0. Oh, he did?
Spain, Poland, 6-0.
Oh,
Sorry.
That's what I said.
another one.
I got the written result 2 days ago.
Something that he didn't. So.
I got the written result 2 days ago. It was a 100% victory. All their notices were quashed. Fantastic. Dancing. And also, the latest thing. Hull has been pretty dead as far as house prices have gone for quite some time. They were rising up to about 2006, 2007, and the overall movement has been gradually down since then. I think it's moving in the opposite direction soon. It's a logical assumption, it's a guess. I haven't got the ability to see into the future, but I'll justify that and I'll qualify that. So, I'm doing some property development now. I can see in London, whenever I come down to London, I quite like it because there's a lot of energy, there's a lot happening in London. People have purpose. They have jobs, they have money, they spend money, and money generates money. The reverse happens as well. When people haven't got money, everybody stays poor. That's been Hull for a long time. I think it's changing. The people who own the businesses, who own the properties in London, the ones who are really well off, are the ones who got in before the prices went up. So, if you want to invest in London, you need a lot of money. Am I going to get in your way? Why invest in Hull? What's happening in Hull? Well, 40 years ago, Hull had the fishing industry, and it died. It didn't quite die overnight, it took about 2 years. We were banned from fishing around Iceland. The effect of that is the major port on the east coast of England lost its major industry, and there was something in the order of 8,000 people lost their jobs. Now, in Hull, the unemployment rate has been around 8% ever since then. That doesn't tell the whole story, because when unemployment is low, everybody's looking for jobs. You can pay people very low salaries. There's a lot less money going into the economy, lots less business, a lot less happening. We need business to take over that. Siemens are investing in a major wind turbine and blade manufacturing plants. There's 2 plants there coming up. The East Hull docks are going to be taken over. They estimate, well, there will be about 1,000 people employed directly and up to 10,000 people as a whole. That's more than a replacement for the fishing industry. But it's better than that because it's not just people from Hull who will be given lots more jobs, lots more money. There aren't the skills in Hull to fill those vacancies. There's going to be a shortage. It's going to suck people in. So there'll be more people there, and these are going to be high quality people earning money who are going to need to live there. A lot of them won't settle there, they'll be there temporarily, they'll be renting. A lot of them will buy. It's all an increase in demand, and if you know your basic economics, when there's supply and demand, when the demand increases, unless the supply matches it, the price goes up. There's more. Come on. Reckitt Benckiser. Do you know Gaviscon, the indigestion stuff? That's made in Hull by Reckitt's. You might have heard of Reckitt and Coleman's. They made mustard, and there's some pharmaceuticals made there. It's a bit of an international company. It's not a huge one, but it's a Hull company. Reckitt's was started in Hull. It's combined with a Dutch company, Benckiser. They're going to invest about £100 million to secure 1,200 jobs. It's getting better. Those, again, are not minimum wage jobs. They're highly professional jobs. They're setting up a centre of excellence for pharmaceuticals in Hull. With the City of Culture in 2017, Hull's going to get cultured. It's like a yogurt gets cultured, I think. Yeah.
I need to move out there.
Yeah. We'll be drinking Perrier water rather than bitter. So there's a build up to that. It attracts a lot of people. A lot of investment, lots of things happening. Did any of you know where Hull was before today? There'll be few people who've maybe not seen it other than on the weather map. It's often on there. It's raining in Hull. Has anybody been to Hull?
In UK?
Yeah, he owns half of Hull. There's more. There's flood defence works coming in because Hull is a very flat city. It's no more than 8 metres above the datum level, the sea level. So they're building up the flood defences. That's an investment. The whole city centre is getting a £25 million revamp in preparation for the City of Culture. It's going to be in the headlines. It's going to be national. Did you know we have a Premiership football team?
Yeah.
Just now. We're in the relegation zone. We have one of the country's richest men owning the football club. He made it big in Hull. He's from Egypt. What am I doing? I've got some projects in Hull. The first one. It's a Victorian neo-Gothic school. I own that. It was built in 1882, I think it says there, by a famous Hull architect, William Botterill. It was used as a school for a long time, then it changed, it was used as a dance theatre. Then there was a planning application on that in 2007 to turn it into apartments. It failed because the finance was pulled, because 2007 a lot of finance was pulled. It was up for sale, ignore that price, it was up for sale for £150,000, but I managed to hammer them down quite a bit. Got a very detailed project to get this underway to turn it into apartments. If you could see just over there, you would see some almshouses. They've been in the same ownership for over 500 years. They're owned by, well, it's a charity now, but it's a charity that's part of an order of monks, the Charterhouse monks. That is one of the places where, it's not the only place, but one of the places where the English Civil War started, because the city wall of Hull was just a little bit further over. That was a monastery, and when the King Charles I, came to Hull, they knocked that monastery down because they didn't want him to use it. They locked the city walls, locked the gates, and denied him access. And parliamentarians were up against the king, they denied him. And the king laid siege to Hull. And the king ended up losing his head. Well, that happened right next door to my little project. That's nice. I've had every survey, every legal that you could think of on this. I bought it on delayed completion because I didn't want to buy this not being able to use it. So what I did was I exchanged contracts on this, subject to achieving full planning permission. Then we achieved full planning permission, we completed on the sale. I've had an asbestos survey, a flood survey, a damp survey, there's 2 structural surveys on this place, all come up good. We've had architects design it, we've got it divided up, we've got they're called Manhattan style apartments because you've got a very, very big building here. If you divide it into 3, well, it doesn't really lend itself because of the windows. Also, I don't know if you know with the building regulations, when you go above 2 floors, the fire regulations become a bit onerous and it all adds up to more money. So it doesn't make economic sense to make it into 3 layers. You've got plenty of space there. So we've got a Manhattan style apartment is an apartment where on the first floor, you'd call it the second floor, there is it's open, there's a balcony so you can look over. Can you imagine if you look over from your bedroom and that is your vista? That's what you'll look at. Isn't that a fantastic apartment? It's yours for 180,000. There you go. The conversion costs. We put it out to detailed tender. I had it, part of the legal fees, the survey fees, etc. were a quantity surveyor. I had a quantity surveyor go through everything on that one. The cost was £340,000, but in addition to that you've got to add your utilities, you've got to add, we added 20,000 because of the windows, we changed the spec on the windows to increase the U value, the insulation on the place, thermal insulation, and we added a contingency. So it shouldn't come to that, but I like to err on the side of caution. Estimated value, there's nothing like that in Hull. So how do you get an estimate? We've gone on square footage or square meterage of comparable buildings. So grade 2 listed buildings that have sold in the city of Hull, the area of those, price per square foot of those, converted it according to the square footage of this. It's about the best we can do. Profit, 171,000, I want that. Estimated return on investment, 31%, is that okay?
How much time it took you to refurbish and to do all this?
It hasn't been started yet. The estimated time is 4 months to carry out the full project from start to finish. I had the caveat though, we're at the mercy of the utility companies because nothing can be completed until they're in, and they do not quite as they're pleased, but they can take 8 weeks to do anything.
When did you complete?
Sorry?
When did you complete?
When did I complete? I think it was October. I don't know, I can't remember. I think it was October.
So the ROI is annualized or since you...
Sorry, say again?
That ROI, have you calculated it annualized or...
Return on investment, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Estimated return on investment
Or
is
is
based
just all these numbers once you start?
Sorry, say again?
Is it once you start the refurbishment project or since day one or since when you completed?
The return on investment is estimated on the anticipated sale price based on, as I mentioned. Take off this, divided by, so it's your profit based on your outlay. Yeah, there are several ways of working out return on investment. Yes, I know what you mean, you can make it work differently. But that is based exactly on those numbers. That's a bit blurred, isn't it? But these are the apartments. I don't know if you can see, there's ground floor, there's first floor, second floor to you. This is apartment 1, that's the gable end we were looking at. You come in here, there's 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, there's a bathroom there, there's a downstairs toilet, there's a kitchen and a living room there, spiral staircase to take you up. That's the best apartment, that's the biggest, that's about 160 square metres. How much would you pay for a 160 square metre apartment in London? More than the whole thing.
For a garage, no?
For a garage?
$500,000.
Wow. It's silly money. That one's the ugly duckling. That's a small 1-bed apartment. That's 80,000. So that's a 3-bed, that's a 3-bed, that's a 3-bed, 1-bed, 1-bed, 2-bed. That's the outbuildings. That used to be the toilets. So we've got the drainage in place. Another one. This is more basic. It's a HMO, house in multiple occupation. It's 3 stories, so it's a licensable HMO. This is one I worked at the Otter on. He supplied the mussel. They were all no, there was Hungarian, but mostly Polish mussel. And there's Isidore with the finger missing. Don't give it anything sharp.
Don't go there, please.
We got this one. It was owned by a landlord who had bought it something like 2004 or 5. He had employed somebody who did not know what they were doing to renovate it. He'd remortgaged it, taken £50,000 increase in value, all borrowed money, put it into it, and it was not compliant. He put it with a letting agent called Rooms 4U, who have gone bust. And they put an arsonist in. Somebody had just been released from prison for arson, and guess what he did?
That's probably the best in the situation.
Yeah, he should have insured it first. Because of that, the landlord was in dire straits. We hammered them down on value. Actually, the numbers are wrong. This is an old presentation. I got it wrong. It should be 75,000. If you check on net house prices, 541 Angleby Road, it'll come up as 75,000. So they're being skewed slightly. But the mortgage, this is theoretical because the landlady bought it with all cash, and she didn't mortgage it. She just took all the profits as her return on investment. It's not a very efficient way of going, but it's her choice. 7 rooms in there. I haven't done the rents yet. That's on the next page. The rental yield. What's your rental yield like in London? Are you looking to make 5%? something like that. I'd buy it for capital growth maybe, if it's still going to go up, but not rental yield. The rental yield you can get in Hull, compared to London, it's streets ahead. We only have to have that one just over half, well, about half full. I like it a bit more. I told the landlady work on 5 rooms full because we'll have generally at least 5 rooms full. I think we only ever once had 4 rooms full once we got it going. That's when people pair up and leave together, or an abattoir closes, as has happened recently in Hull, and half of them work there. But we've always had 5, 6, 7 people in there. With a property like that, 7 rooms, you're looking at your profit basically starts on possibly room 4, but definitely room 5, 6 and 7. And when you're looking at the rents, I don't know what you pay per room in London, but the rents were 60, the small room was £60 a week. The larger rooms were 65, the doubles were 75 there. Is that cheap for you?
No chance in London.
No chance in London. How can you afford it? This is one of mine. I bought it a few years ago. The purchase price is 80,000. This is just a simple family let. It washed its face at £100 a week. I had somebody in there. Or had them there for about 3 years. Now, when you look at the rental yield, it's not what you get per week, it's what you get per year. And you get lots of people coming along and say, oh, you get this per week, you get this many rooms, you'll get this much rent. It's all the theoretical maximum. What you've got to really do is look per year. I had tenants in there 3 years solid. Excellent tenants, they weren't Polish, sorry, they were Latvians. Unfortunately, my arch enemy, the council, robbed them, took them off me, gave them a council house. So I turned it to a HMO, and now I make about £850 a month on that. I wanted to compare, so here's the rents. I want to compare really what you get in London, give you a few examples against what you get in Hull. Sorry, I've talked about the rents on that. London versus Hull. I want you to think, £80,000, if you had £80,000 I could get it, what would you get in London?
Deposit.
Would it be capped by the rent? Because there's various things that cap how much money you can borrow on a property. Would you get somewhere to put your dog or your car?
Possibly, yes.
I just went on to Rightmove and I just picked 3 random ones out. That is overpriced, £60,000, because I've got one down there for, I think it was £43,000 last year. I mean, you've got change out of £80,000. We're getting £100 a week rent on that. £43,000, £100 a week, we don't need to do the sums, do we? It's a better return than you'll ever get in London. That's the bottom end of the market. That's somebody who is dreaming, thinking they'll get £60,000 down Tunis Street. And they're after offers in excess of. What my advice is there is come back next year, because it'll still be there, and make them an offer. And I would offer them, I'd go to that one, depends what condition it's in. The one we got for 43,000 needed rewiring, a few bits and pieces. But the maximum I'd offer on that is 45. I'd start at 38, and then I get Piotr to go in and offer 39, and then I go for 39 and a half, and then we get them in their head that that's what it's worth. And then the family would come out and we'd get them to a realistic price, because they need educating, these people. There's another one. That's a bungalow, £63,000. These haven't even been negotiated on. You don't pay that price. That's on a council estate in East Hull. Council estates are fine in most of Hull, provided you cover 1 or 2 things, because some of the houses don't have gas in them, some of the houses are non-standard construction, and you won't get an easy mortgage on it, or the mortgage you'll get will be a high loan to value. Once you've filtered those out, one of the something I found is very good is people who bought their council house under the right to buy and got a house very cheaply, and then they think they're wealthy because the value of that house has gone up, but they haven't got the money, so they borrow the money, and then they put the conservatory on, they put a new bathroom on, they put a new kitchen on, but they don't pay the loan because they can't afford it. And then you come and buy the house, and you've got a house with a new bathroom, a new kitchen, a conservatory. I've got one. It's great. I didn't pay for any of those. I mean, a rented house with a conservatory. It's nice. Another one, again, we've not even negotiated on that. That's good. That's overpriced. I will be looking down there at about completing at about 60,000. I'm going at 52, I think. One of the problems we've got in Hull is some of the lenders don't go down to these levels. If you look at somebody like the Mortgage Works, they stop at 50,000 and they don't lend below that. I'm not quite sure why. There's less risk if you're lending less money, but there you go. What they'll also do is if you paid 52 for something, I've heard of them valuing it below 50, and the message is we don't want to lend to you. They'd rather lend on a more expensive house. I don't understand the logic. One thing to notice with this, it's 4 bedrooms. Even if you put somebody on benefits in there, they're entitled, if they get the 4-bedroom rate, to £130 a week. So
230 a week.
130. 200?
No, for the whole house. For the
whole house, yeah. This is family lets. Sorry, nobody pays 200 in Hull. And then a 3-bedroom house. You'll get, even if you put somebody on benefits in there. I don't put people on benefits in my houses, but the LHA rate, you know what that is, don't you? The local housing allowance in Hull for a 3-bed is £104 or £103.85. So it's less than £80,000. What would you get for £80,000 in Hull, in London? The deposit?
A few garages.
A few garages? You're increasing your risk as well as when you're putting these big lumps of money down after these houses. London, I don't know. Is it going to carry on growing? People probably said not, but it keeps growing, doesn't it? There's foreign money coming in.
Actually, it's coming down. This January, it's coming down.
London's coming down?
Yes. Slide. So it's stabilizing.
They predicting that it's going to come down.
It's difficult to say there'll be areas coming down and there'll be areas staying the same. There might be some going up. But what are you finding you're having to go further out the zones, into zones 4, 5, 6, looking for the houses that are affordable? And then there's the rent. How high can the rents go to just cover these mortgages? And then I'm finding, am I wrong in thinking people are having to split a house in London and make it into a HMO just to get a rental return on it and cover the mortgage and cover the costs? It's difficult to make it work in London. It's a way of parking money and leaving it, and maybe working on capital gain, maybe buying land and developing. But I keep seeing people building in London. There's loads of building work going on. Yeah. Lots of Polish labourers. Yeah. So what can you get in London for 80,000? Not what you can get in Hull. Sorry, I've not taken long on my presentation. I've rushed through it. Anybody want to talk to me about Hull? Anybody interested? Anybody got £80,000 cash? You don't need it. How quickly can I fill in those rooms? It depends where it is.
Yeah.
You've got to watch where you're buying in Hull. You've got to get the right house in the right area. There's also, the market in Hull is in every way different to London. It's a low demand market. It's a high demand market in London. So you've got to have the right house in the right area done to the right standard.
In London?
In Hull. Don't take anything in London.
Diana, I think you should also mention if anyone wants to invest with us, you get actually 2 letting agents.
We're competition, but we don't compete. Piotr started a long time ago, and we met a long time ago, and he started coming to me and asking about housing standards and how to do it correctly. And that's quite impressive, that rather than just ploughing on and making mistakes, he wanted to learn. So the market in Hull, it's a low demand market at the moment. The housing, there was a bit of an increase in house values last year. That was when the assisted purchase scheme was out, where people were being loaned up to 20% of the value of the property, so that the deposit was about 5%. And that caused a bit of a bubble. And people were starting to ask, houses were starting to go for asking price. Asking price started to go up. That was for about 3 months, January, February, March. And it was cut dead by the government. I think it was a political measure because the government didn't want a housing boom too soon before the election. There's an election in May this year.
But it was happening in London now. Yeah, the same thing.
The same thing?
Yeah.
It's starting to develop a bit of a bubble, bit of demand, bit of interest. Yeah, it's political, it's not sensible economics. But who am I to control it? I'll try and take advantage of it. Why not? In Hull, like I say, I think the demand is going to increase. I think we're going to suck people in because of all that employment that's coming up. We can't supply the employment with the local people in Hull. There aren't enough people with the right skills. It adds up to more money being available in Hull. All of that adds up to increases in value, increases in rent. I'm confident it's happening. I'm putting my own money in there, and it's a risk I qualify myself. So,
Ian, you mentioned that you wouldn't park your cars. You would do it differently to buy the property.
I wouldn't
in
park
Hull.
my cash.
Yeah. What's the best way to buy in Hull at the moment?
It depends on what you're buying, where you're buying. I will park my cash, but I look at return on investment, and I calculate it on my properties, and I calculate it on best case and worst case. I'm a managing agent. If I manage for you, I charge 10% or 12% if it's a HMO. I don't charge myself. So my returns will be better than somebody else from outside. But looking at my returns, if I can get my money out in 3 to 5 years, I'm very happy with that. And then your portfolio naturally builds a bit of capital, bit of critical mass and a bit of momentum, and you're getting the money out quickly enough to be able to buy more. And the more you buy, the more money comes out, the more you can buy. You see, it's a positive feedback loop, I think we call it. And that helps build up. That's what I'm doing. It's my pension plan. It's better than the local government pension plan. I'm going to retire before they do. No, I'm not going to retire, I don't want to. Any questions about Hull? Anybody?
Yeah, when you advertise your property,
Yeah.
how many phone calls do you get in a day?
My lettings manager takes the phone calls. My lettings manager speaks.
Kind of know.
Yeah. Well, better. Our occupancy level is above 95% and it's stayed above 95%. There was a little bit of a dip just after Christmas, but it's picked up quickly. So that's a better indication, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, my occupancy rate is 96% on average on my HMOs.
That's very good on HMOs, because it's brought down mostly by my HMO,
Yeah,
because there's a lot
sorry
of
for
churn.
lowering that,
And,
but I don't know what it is for
how many
decreasing.
rooms have you got?
Sorry?
How many rooms have you
On
got?
which house?
How many rooms?
Total.
Well, okay, I've got between 6 and 8
Houses.
per
HMOs.
house. No, 6 and 8 rooms per property.
Now, how many houses?
Enough.
Difficult to know what is
I find with landlords it's a very personal question. when you ask how many
It's the wrong
houses you
question, to be honest. It's the first question which people ask. It's because what
Well, do you
could-
know what's the answer to this one?
What's
Not even
that?
my wife knows.
My wife. No, but it's not. It's not a personal question. It's just that I could have one property. It could be a 200-room hotel at 96% occupancy. So it depends upon the property. But as Ian says,
Yeah, but it's
we all have different returns. We,
Yeah.
as long as the occupancy rate is high, that you buy for market demand, as the guys have said before.
Yeah. And as I was saying with HMOs and rooms, it depends where you buy. There are some cowboys in Hull who will sell you anything, and they'll sell you houses where you are not allowed to turn them into HMOs, not above 3 people, not above 2 people. That won't work. The council can come and shut you unless you get permission. It's called an Article 4 area. There's one I'm thinking. I'm not going to name it. It's not on film. So one guy, I've been through 3 of his
Don't
HMOs.
get
I haven't found a
please.
single fire door. Now, you might think, okay, so what? Well, what if there's a fire and a tenant's killed and you own that property? You're in trouble.
Yeah.
So you need to be sure that the property is up to standard. There is only licensing of HMOs in Hull for mandatory licensing. That's a 3-storey property, 5 or more people. Anything 2-storey, no licensing, no selective licensing in Hull. So the regulation, as mentioned before, the council officers, I don't have much faith in them. We keep challenging them and we win. It sounds maybe a little over complacent, but we only pick the battles we're going to win. We're not silly, but we try to keep them out of the way. We've also got an accreditation scheme in Hull, landlord accreditation scheme by the Humber Landlords Association. I wrote it myself. Sounds good, but I just copied it from others. I brought in the best from others. I made it a landlord-friendly scheme. And if you're a member of the Humber Landlords Association, you're an accredited landlord as well.
I think we should mention that we'll make these seminars back in Hull for those that would like to just come
Yeah.
over and take a look at what do we do. Ian, he's going to run through this HHSRS
Yeah.
with you guys as well.
The system of inspection, the obligations, I'm sorry, you can't meet them. And yeah, Piotr and I, we could meet you if you want to come to Hull. Any more questions? Did everybody understand me despite having the Hull accent? Because I'm not just English, I'm from the north.
Yeah, what I was about to say, all of this thing is just video and we'll make us subtitles for everything, yeah? Especially for me. So it will be available on our website. So if you would like to come back to something, you can just go through it whenever it's convenient.
Okay, thank you very much.